Hi, good morning guys, thanks for joining me. Just a little bit of a different kind of video today. I've actually been prompted to do this video by Sammy Prepper and Bushcraft Australia, so thanks a lot Sammy. And the idea behind the tag was actually just to select your 3 favourite kind of cordages. Now when Sammy did her video, she had around about 15 or 20 different types of cordage, and then just ran through all the different sorts, just explaining the different kind of uses for each one of the cordages until she actually came to her favourite 3. So that was the idea behind the video, and that's something which I'm going to do myself today. So what I've actually got out in front of me are 10 different types of cordage. Again, nowhere near the amount that Sammy had, but over the years, if it is that I've used cordages and not replaced them, it's probably down to the fact A, I didn't like them, or B, I didn't quite get on with them. So what I'm actually just going to start off with is probably the most popular cordage, certainly what we carry in the UK, and probably one of the most popular cordages that people carry all over the world, and that's 550 Paracord, and that's certainly one of my favourite cordages, and that's something which I'll always carry. The next cordage, again one of my favourites, certainly bad weather conditions, or if it is you just want to set tarps up in quick speed, wherever it may be, and that's the good old bungee. I do like to carry natural cordages, again because these have got to be shop brought cordages and not things that you can make down here in the woods. I do like to carry things like sisal, and also do like to carry things like jute. And just going on to the jute, I've actually got 2 different thicknesses here. I do like the thicker jute and I do like the thinner jute for various applications, which I'll certainly run through in a moment. But again, just carrying the 2 different sorts of jute certainly helps me out. When it comes to strong bindings, lashings, the majority of camp tasks and camp chores, one of my favourite cordages is always going to be bank line. Again, using it either in conjunction with the paracord or instead of the paracord. Again, bank line is something which I'd always make sure I'm packing with me. Again, just like the bungee cord, not technically a cordage, but something which I do like and something worth carrying, and that's one of these magnet grunt lines. Absolutely brilliant piece of kit. Just moving down to the front a little bit, just some thicker cordage here. Now this is not genuine 550 paracord, this is a little bit thicker, around about 5mm. And this comes in handy for various things like lashings, bundling firewood and the likes. So again, something which I do like to carry. And then if it is I'm doing any kind of work, certainly around water, if I'm looking for floating ropes, this is one of my preferred cordages when it comes to guiding and again boat work, and that's the polyprop rope. Nice bright colours, you can actually see it just when it's lying on the water. And then again, just on the front here, something which we just spoke about is the thicker jute, which I like to carry. So now we've finished running through the cordages, I've just got the tough job at hand. I'm actually just eliminating a few of them and just actually getting down to my favourite 3. But like I mentioned, it'd be quite tough because I do carry cordages for its own individual use. So in my own mind, I've actually just got to think, if I do get rid of one cordage, which will replace it. So probably just starting off with the easiest one, and that would be the orange rope at the front here, the polyprop. Again, perfect if it is I'm using it around water, but for woodland use it tends just to get used just for bundling up firewood or dragging large items around camp. So probably that would be the first one I get rid of, because I could use another cordage as a replacement. And again, I do use these other cordages more than what I actually use this polyprop rope for in the first place, so that'll be the first one which I'm going to get rid of. The next cordage, I'm actually gutted about it, but again, it does get used for only 2 or 3 things, whereas the others do get used for a lot more, and that would be the bungee. Again, perfect if I want to set camp up quickly, whether that's your tarp or wherever it may be, but unfortunately this time, the good old bungee I'm going to have to leave behind. Just running alongside it again, another bungee which I do use quite a lot. And like I mentioned, this is the grunt line by Magnet Tactical, and again, like I said, you can actually use it for multiple things. So as well as using it just as your bog standard bungee cord, I can just get the camera just to pick that up there. It does actually just split apart, and it's actually a braided rubber, so you can actually use this as a washing line. They do see on the website that you can use them as an emergency tourniquet. So these are the kind of things that you're interested in, probably worth just keeping an eye out for, or at some point I'll probably do a review about it. Certainly worth carrying, a great little piece of kit. Things are getting a bit more difficult now. I do like my natural cordages, and again, just stipulating back to what Sammy did say, they have got to be shop brought cordages, so these are the reasons why I do like to carry things like your sisal and your jutes. It just means then if I do want to use natural cordages without making any, these can be perfect. We'll probably be out to the natural cordages. Probably the first one which I'm going to get rid of will be the sisal. I do find I get more uses, out of the jute themselves. So, that's one which I'm going to get rid of. The next cordage would be probably just the thicker cordage here. Like I say, not genuine 550 paracord, again pretty much used very similar to like the orange rope would be, just for lashing firewood and the likes. You could actually just hang a tarp or an hammock you know, just by using this stronger cordage. But again, I could just use my paracord or my bank line, wherever it may be. You know, I could just have a reverse wrap it, double it up, you know, and it's certainly going to give you, you know, similar kind of strength. So again, you know, I don't use this as much as what I use these other cordages for, so that'll be the next one which I'm going to eliminate. Just taking a look here now, probably one of the jutes will be one of the cordages which I will get rid of. Again, you know, awesome material if it is you want to use it for fire lighting. You know, you can use it for shelter building and the like. Certainly, if it is you're going to be leaving things in situ, it just means then that this cordage can break down and just turn back into dirt. So out of the two, probably I'd get rid of the thinner cordage, purely for the fact that this rope can be untwisted and broken down just to make a similar size cordage as what we've got on the roll here. So again, I'd probably get more use just out of the fatter cordage than what I would do just with this thinner jute here. So I'd probably just get rid of the thinner jute. And then that just kind of leaves me now with these. I'd certainly keep the paracord, I'm going to keep the jute. So basically just brings me down to the bank line. A very similar kind of theory. You know, this is number 36 and a number 24. I do like the 36 because it has very strong multiple uses, just like the paracord has. But also I do like the number 24, certainly when it comes just to using it like string. Any kind of lashings and tines just at the back of the top or wherever it may be. Cordages that you don't mind cutting down, you know, it does come on a £1 roll like this. So again, you know, it's always worth carrying, and certainly for the amount of cordages which you do get on one of the rolls, it's going to last for a long time. But out of the two, I'd probably say I'd get rid of the 24 over the 36. Again, purely for the fact that I'd actually just break this down, just untwist it and actually get fibres very similar thickness. But if it is I wanted just a thicker strand, it'd either mean I'd have to reverse wrap or double up the 24. Or I could just use the 36 as it is. So what that does, that brings me down to my three favourite cordages, and that's the 550 paracord, the number 36 bank line, and the thicker twisted jute. And again, I'm just going to show you just the reasons why I do like to carry them, and also some of the uses which I actually use these cordages for. So just starting off with the jute, and as you can see here, just by the things which I've actually got out on the stump, how useful this material can actually be. Certainly when it comes to building shelters, it's not the best. But again, you know, if you're going to leave these shelters in situ, it just means that the natural fibres will break down over time. But you know, if it's going to use jute for an emergency shelter building, then things like this thicker cordage can be used for ridge lines. And also, you know, it does tie very reasonable knots when it actually just comes just to binding things together. So again, you know, the thicker stuff like I'm showing here can be used for various things: shelter building, fire lighting, bushcraft projects, a little bit of carving if you're making you know, lanyards. I've actually seen knife handles that have been wrapped just in the jute cordage itself, and I've also seen some nice walking sticks where they've actually done exactly the same kind of thing. So again, you know, this is one of my favourite cordages just because it has got a lot of uses, and certainly just how it does help you out when you're down here in the woods. So just starting off here, just showing you just how it can actually be used as a candle wick. They do burn bright and they do burn for a long time. And then again, when it comes to fire lighting, you can actually just use it just in its roughed up state as a little tinder bundle. Or if it is that you want to add various ingredients to it, you can actually just make just an heavy duty, good quality fire starter, which will actually just cost you pennies. So for those of you which may be interested in making little fire starters out of jute, like I say, they're going to cost you pennies. It's very easy to do. It's just a case of just finding yourself some pine resin and just having some beeswax at hand. And then all I've actually done with these, I've just actually just dipped them just in the resin and beeswax, and then I've actually just coated them just with a little bit of fat wood dust on here, just to help it just to catch fire just a little bit quicker. And these will burn for a few minutes. So like I say, if everything's wet, you're just going to give it that little bit of a fighting chance then. Like I say, you know, they're very cheap to make. So I'm just going to just get one of these. I'll just use the candle itself. I'll just get these lit. Like I say, you can actually just keep these just in one length as they are, or if you wanted to, you could actually just cut them up just into little sections, and then you can just use them as and when you need them. So as you saw there, that little fire starter went up very easily and burned for around about 5 or 6 minutes. Not too bad there for a little piece of jute around about 6 inches in length, just with a little bit of beeswax and also pine resin just impregnated into it. So the next way which I like to use it for fire starting is actually when it comes just to making tinder bundles. Now I actually make either a complete tinder bundle just out of the jute. Certainly if the weather's wet, it just means then I haven't got to start looking for grasses and brackens which are going to be saturated. You could, if you wanted to, actually just carve little feather sticks and use them. But again, you know, if it is that you're practicing, you just want to get your skill levels up. Just using jute tinder bundles, very easy to go up and combust. It just means then that you can just practice the process of building fires, actually just getting the coal just into flame in the first place. And then when you're actually out in the wild, you're just going to make just the whole process just a lot easier. So like I mentioned, you could actually just use just a complete tinder bundle like this. One thing which I do like to carry, certainly in my flint and steel set, again, is a little length of jute, and then we'll actually use that for a little inlays. So what we actually do, we just cut lengths off around about 2 inches. You can just fluff them up just like the complete tinder bundle here. And then if you're using grasses and brackens, which may be marginal, a little bit of moisture in them, whatever it may be, it just means then that this is going to burn and smoulder, create more heat, and actually get the tinder bundle combusted. But you know, my preferred method, like I say, you know, if you haven't got anything else, would be the jute. But from time to time, if the cattails are about, those are my preferred option, the thistleheads and the likes. But again, you know, certainly where we live in the UK, everything might be saturated. So one other good thing you can actually use is something like kapok. Just anything dry, just to put in there, just to create that heat, just get it smouldering, like I was saying. You're just going to get the majority of these tinder bundles lit. But like I say, you know, if you're just practicing, just using just a tinder bundle like this, you're just going to take any guesswork out of the materials that you should be using, you know, the materials which are going to be the best, because this stuff just goes up that easily and that quick. You know, it just makes it then a lot more durable, and then it's just also going to get your fire lit just from this itself. So the way which you actually made this tinder bundle, like I say, very, very simple. Just get yourself a length around about 6 inches, and especially with this wider jute, it's then a lot easier just to break down compared to them thinner strands just off the roll itself. So then when you've actually split them down, what I actually like to do is just make sure I've got plenty of loose fibres, thin fibres just on the top, and then just working my way just through the back there. I just then keep just some of the thicker, coarser fibres just at the back, just so when the heat comes through it just burns for a lot longer and then gives you more chance of getting these marginal tinders lit. So what we're going to use is just charred cloth just out of the charred tin here, but again, with it being a natural material, you know, charred jute, you know, just works as well as any kind of charred cloth does. So the next cordage which I like to talk about is bank line. Now it's fair to say that bank line is probably the most used cordage which you use around camp. It's used for pretty much everything from lashing down the tarps, when it comes to making tripods, coot loops, anything like that. Bank line is the first thing that you always go for. And purely down to the fact it's easy to carry. A £1 roll like this, around about 400 to 500 feet on it, is certainly a lot easier to carry, you know, than paracord, just down to the thickness. But this one was the one which I did get rid of. This is the number 24. Like I say, very useful cordage to have around camp. Certainly if you're going to use it like string, you don't mind cutting it up, using it and throwing it away, and that would be my first option. But I did actually get rid of that and stuck with the number 36. Again, the beauty about the 36, knotability, durability, but this one can actually be broken down just into multiple strands. The one there, the number 24, was actually a braided one, which means then, you know, if you cut it, it doesn't actually untwist, but the 36 actually went, like I was saying, this multiple strands. So if it is I'm looking for thinner strands, I can actually just break this down, or if I'm looking for something really heavy duty, strong, like this bank line is, then I can then opt just use it just in the one piece itself. It's fair to say when you try to buy a bank line in the UK, they do get pretty much ripped off. That roll of 24 I paid around about £15 for it, but when I was looking for a spool of 36 the other day, you wanted something like £45 roll and £20 postage, so you know, there's other options out there if you don't want to be spending the big money. Again, if you can buy it cheap enough, the amount of uses that it does have around camp certainly makes it worthwhile carrying. And again, dependent of how long I'm out for, will determine how much cordage there is that I do carry. So if just for a day hike, or just out like I am for the moment for the day, I just carry a couple of hanks of it. It just means then any kind of replacement ridge lines, like I say, just lashing down the top, it just means that I've actually got it at hand. And if I was going to wait for longer periods, just carrying something like that £1 roll just means you've got hundreds of feet of cordage there that can be used for anything, like I say, lashings. One of the things which I do like to use it for, which I did cover in one of the other videos, are prussics. Again, and these nice easy cordages to use, the knotability and the durability, certainly when you're rubbing it up and down just against the other cordage, as using it as a prussic, it just means then it's just going to last a lot longer. And if it is any kind of repairs that may be needed doing, perhaps you need to sew some clothing, haversack, rucksack, tarp, wherever it may be, the beauty with this number 36 bank line, like I said, it can be split down, threaded through a good quality needle, and then that we know will certainly help with any kind of repairs. And again, for trap building, net making, net repairing, an absolutely brilliant material to use, rot proof and also very, very strong. So when it comes actually to using it as bow drill sets, certainly on the bow, it's one of my preferred things for the strings. Again, you could actually use paracord or shoelaces, but over the years I do find how it works is a lot more efficient. I do like the tar, it does help to bind just onto the spindle itself, and also just that thinner diameter just helps it just all just a little bit easier than the paracord. And just like the bank line, another cord that's got a myriad of uses, but certainly a lot easier and a lot cheaper to buy in the UK, is paracord. Now when it comes to paracord, you know, I like to pay the money just like I did with the bank line. You know, I'm a firm believer this is the kind of stuff which is going to be holding your shelter up, it's going to be holding everything up they're going to be using for cooking. Pretty much whatever you're going to use paracord for, I always opt for a good quality paracord. Again, it's going to last me a lot longer, and also it's got the reliability there. So when it comes to buying paracord, I tend just to stick with the bog standard kind of paracords out there on the market nowadays, but one thing to do is just stick with a good quality make. So them other kind of paracords, like I mentioned, I don't use so much anymore. Things like the fire cord is very expensive for what you got, and if I can just get the cameras just to pick up that there, you'll just see a little bit of tinder running through that length of paracord. I've also tried things with fishing line and wires and the likes running through the centres, but at the end of the day I always resort back to these. So what we got here, just a couple of hanks of paracord. These are the woodland camo, again a nice preferred colour, certainly in the British woodland. And the main which you always seem to go back to is a company called Wild Elk. And Wild Elk, if you go on their website, claim to make a lot of stuff for the military, the fire brigade, etc, etc. So that being said, you would expect a good quality anchor cordage, and that's pretty much what you do get. So with this being the genuine 550 paracord, it means then that you will have 7 strands just on the centre, and what I've actually done here, I've just cut a little length off, and if I just pull back just the sheath there, you can actually just see the individual strands. And again, just like the bank line, this can be used for multiple things, and that's something which I'm just going to run through now. So it's fair to say when it actually comes to using paracord, 99.9% of the time I do actually just use it like it is here at the moment. Again, if I'm looking for a strong cordage for ridge lines, wherever it may be, then paracord is the one which I tend to choose. And also with it just being a little bit thicker than bank line, if them knots just get bound just a little bit too tight, whether it's on a tarp and it's just been flapping about or something and the knots are bound just a little bit too tight, when it comes to undoing them, I do find it just a lot easier with paracord than I actually do with the bank line. So again, heavy duty cordage for anything like lashings, bindings, shelter building, ridge lines, prussigs, for cooking if you wanted to make tripods just for lashing around the tops, little pot hangers or pot lifters, again, you know, paracord is always the option. But like I mentioned, you know, we do have them little strands just inside there, and this is something which we're just going to look at just when it comes just for making things, but also for repairs. My preferred choice at the end of the day would be the thinner bank line, just purely for the fact it just saves the hassle of having to cut things down and also just start unthreading things, tying knots together wherever it may be. But you know, there's going to be times like we're doing in this video, I can only choose 3 of the cordages which I do use regularly, and with the paracord it just means then if I haven't got any kind of thinner bank line, then I'm going to use the centre of the cord itself. So if we just compare the 2 thicknesses of the bank line and the paracord, if the camera will pick it up and just actually stay in focus, you can just see there that even though the 36 bank line has been wound down just into each single thread, it's still around about 1.5 times the thickness of the paracord. So it's going to make it just a little bit easier just to thread just the paracord just through the eye of a needle. And a lot of people said that they could use it for first aid, for sewing wounds and whatever. And if that's going to be the case, you know, my personal opinion would be go to the hospital, not for the fact that you're going to sew a wound up the majority of the time when you're in surgery or in the operating theatre, wherever it may be, that the majority of the time is actually spent cleaning the wound out than actually sewing it together. So again, just sewing dirt in a wound, you know, can be quite you know, quite a nasty thing. But if you wanted to, just getting one of these strands, you can actually just split that down again just by unwinding it. So you can actually go even thinner and even thinner again. So just a couple of the things which I've actually got just here, what we've actually made just out of the strands themselves. This is a little bottle lifter here. You can actually just use that just for lifting just the bottles out of a fire after the water's been boiled. Or if you wanted to, you could actually just use that and just suspend just a bottle over the fire. And just going back to what I said about being able to split that one strand down again and again, just make it just a little bit thinner. What I've actually got here is a little bit of a fishing line or a little bit of a fishing leader which we've actually made. And one good example is just this little strand here, and if you can just see this one strand just being split down into 2. So we've just actually just continued that down. I've just actually just fastened just another little length to it there, which I've actually just split down again and just made it just a little bit thinner again and again until we just work our way down just to the bottom here. So it's actually thin enough that we can actually just feed that just through the eye of a little hook here. This, I think I remember right, this was a size 12 or 14, something like that. So again, just showing you just how thin you can actually just get the diameter of your paracord down, and also you'd be quite surprised about the breaking strain. So we have you guys just a little bit about the 3 cordages which I like to carry on a regular basis. I know at the beginning there was half a dozen, and those half a dozen there would cover pretty much every kind of application which I want to use them for, but according to Sammy's tag she has to eliminate them, actually get them down just to the last 3. So again, I think, you know, if I remember rightly, very similar to what Sammy carries, and pretty much I suppose what 99% of everyone carries: the Jute, the bank line, and also the Paracord. And just whilst I'm out in front of the camera, I'd just like to wish Sammy well. She has actually had a bad car accident over in Australia. She was on about a 7-foot kangaroo's jumped out in front and she's actually rolled the car, so I just hope that her and her daughter Candy. So wow, I'd just also like to thank Sammy just for prompting me to do this video, and for you guys who perhaps haven't seen Sammy's channel, I will leave the link in the description box, and that's Sammy Prepper, bushcraft in Australia. Absolutely lovely lady, always makes you feel welcome every time you talk to her, and you always make you feel like you're part of the family. So like always guys, I'll just leave and say thanks a lot for you stopping by and watching the video. Like always, until next time, you take care, and I'll see you again.